CIA, whatever it is. In this case, in Afghanistan, it's the American government and military that's making promises to these people, and now they're bailing on these people. They're not going to get them all out, right? And so this is, an example of America just not following through on promises. And you say, well, it's just people in Afghanistan. Yeah, they'll do it to you too. This is the way, this is the way America, governments in general, treat people. They use you. They tell you, they make promises they don't deliver. Politicians do this all the time. It's a prime example. But what America can't do is leave people there. And that's, if there's Americans that get left there or get, hostaged, like what happened. When I was a kid, there was the Iranian hostage crisis. I just watched the end of the Argo movie the other night. It was on, I don't know, one of my movie channels. It's a good movie, and they kind of, touch the way that America and the CIA manipulated and abused Iran with Operation Ajax. But then, the Shah of Iran left just like the leader of Afghanistan left a few days ago. These leaders get out and they take some money with them, right? This happened in Libya years ago when Gaddafi took over, King Idris. And so what happens is the puppet leader leaves, and then the people storm the government, and sometimes, they get the embassy like they did in Iran. And then for 400 or so days, there was a hostage crisis that cost Jimmy Carter his presidency. And, the news was different back then, but they covered it constantly. I mean, it was on almost every night. There was people were posting flag or like yellow ribbons or something, and whatever it was, right? There was things going on like that. I was a little kid, and I knew about it. And it went on for a very long time until Jimmy Carter was ousted and Reagan won, and he made a deal with weapons, which caused a scandal for him later on. And so, if there's hostages, that's going to be the end of Joe Biden's presidency, because it'll be just about that. Right? And who knows, how that'll play out. But if they leave behind, and we don't know because the news media is so different now, people move on. But if they take American hostages, there's some sort of graphic imagery from that thing. Joe Biden won't survive that, but who knows what that'll mean, right? Kamala or whatever it is. I mean, they're not going to impeach him. It'll just be, Joe Biden will be hammered on the news regularly. And he was complaining, he was whining about the rough coverage he was getting. When they just pampered the guy, like that's how clueless he is. But the main point of this is, think about that 25% thinks he's doing a good job in Afghanistan, and he has had about half of America that thinks he's a good president. And he can't even, he's drooling on himself. I mean, what I expect from a president is a performance. Like, I judge them on their performance.
He's drooling on
He
himself.
used to give good performances, and it was funny, and he pissed people off, so it was great. But,
What is this?
I mean, in terms of Trump's decision-making, he didn't really have all that much power. And it showed at the end when the election, the whole election debacle. And he said, what way is this to run a country? Like, he was completely denuded, which is hilarious as well. But Joe Biden's performance, although I love it, making fun of it, it's great for me, is dismal. Like, he's not somebody that you would, want to drive your kids to school in a bus, right? You wouldn't think he's a good bus driver. Like somebody who can't...
Chris Cuomo.
I mean, you wouldn't want him to cook you a meal or whatever, Like there's, what job would you feel comfortable Joe Biden doing?
Andrew and his brother.
What task would you feel comfortable him performing for you? And he's president. And so 50% of America don't see that at all. They look at this guy and see him as a good leader. And that tells you everything you need to know about America. And so let's move on to Barry Manilow and
What is
Anderson
Barry
Cooper,
Manilow
because there's lots of funny
doing?
things that
He's
happened
alive?
the last couple of days.